Thanks for joining us. I'm Marlon Bowling with you here on a Tuesday. We have all kinds of crop progress and condition numbers to sort through today because USDA came out with them yesterday afternoon. Let's take a look at the cotton numbers. We've had a big move upward in the cotton market this morning. Interestingly, we had an improvement in cotton condition in the top 5 producing states. Texas went up 2 points, still at only 22% good to excellent, though. They have 51% poor to very poor. Georgia cotton up 2 points to 69% good to excellent. Mississippi up 1 at 73%. Alabama gained 6 at 86% good to excellent. And North Carolina picked up 5 points. They're now ranked at 60% good to excellent on their cotton. Sorghum, we had some shuffling here. Texas stayed unchanged at 23% good to excellent. Oklahoma, believe it or not, picked up 23 points at 69% good to excellent. Man, that rain made a lot of difference. Kansas unchanged at 62% good to excellent. Nebraska down 5 at 84%, and Colorado down 7 points at 48% good to excellent. And spring wheat harvest nationally is 60% complete now. The 5-year average is only 44%, so they continue to make very strong progress on their spring wheat harvest activity. Brian Hoops joins us. He's with Midwest Market Solutions in Springfield, Missouri, where they have tended to get a little rain here lately. Brian, that's a nice surprise for a lot of producers in Missouri.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's been raining the last several days, rained again this morning, a little bit more rain in the forecast for the rest of this week, and then warmer temperatures. So, if nobody's really got any wheat in the ground, but grass seed will be coming up. Pasture conditions will improve and grow real rapidly. And all those are some huge pluses to the producers that have been suffering a drought for most of the summer months.
Let's look at prices today. We have had some weakness creeping into the grain trade in most segments anyway. For example, we have the corn underwater by about 3/4 of a cent at 3.61 1/4. Even though it's coming back off of its early morning lows, it had been about 2.5 lower earlier. December down 3/4 at 3.75 3/4. In the soybean trade, with those trade negotiations going on and kind of a lack of enthusiasm about the potential outcome, the way it seems, we have November soybeans down 5.5 at 8.87 3/4. We had very good first round reports coming out of the crop tour yesterday for high pod counts, higher than the 5-year average. Let's take a look at wheat. And in the wheat market, we have Chicago September down 9.5 at 5.32 3/4. Kansas City wheat on September has traded at 5.40. That would be down 7.25 cents per bushel. And in Minneapolis spring wheat trade, we have that September contract dropping 4.25 cents. We're quoted at 5.90 per bushel. Cotton market has picked up some this morning, and we have December new crop 60 higher at 83.30. How is it doing that, Brian, in the face of the higher crop condition ratings?
Yeah, the markets here are finding a lot of pressure because we've got so much rainfall around the Midwest. Corn, soybeans under a little bit of selling interest this morning as rains. Our Omaha office talking about 7 inches of rain there. Our Northwest Iowa offices, a couple inches of rain. Wisconsin's getting rain. All these events that are occurring are going to really finish out the corn and soybean crops going forward. It's going to improve yield potential, and we're already finding very high yield potential for corn, soybean crops at the Pro Farmer Tour is uncovering. And of course, we're seeing a little bit of a weakness in the wheat markets as well. There's reports that Russia and the Ukraine both are unlikely to limit the size of their export activity after some earlier trade talk had occurred that these customers of these countries would be limiting their export business, and that doesn't appear to be the case, and so wheat prices are retreating on that news.
And one side note I see on the wire where African swine fever in China, I think they have like their 3rd case now, and there is fear that that could reduce soy demand here as well. Brian, I'll bring you back here in a moment. We'll analyze our livestock trade. Our guest is Brian Hoops. We'll be back after this. We are talking with Brian Hoops. He is with Midwest Market Solutions, and he's based in Springfield, Missouri. We want to turn our focus now to our livestock trade. And Brian, let's go ahead and dive into our futures trade and get everybody updated on what the latest trades are here. I want to remind everybody there was no cash cattle trade yesterday to speak of, except for just a few head that brought 172 in Iowa. That was not enough really officially to establish market trend, even though that was a little under what we had earlier. So just wanted to point that out. So it's not offering any direction to the futures trade. And the futures are very quiet today. We have the nearby contracts just barely higher. We have October live cattle 27 higher now at 110.72 per hundredweight. And we have December up 17 at 114.75. The far out deferreds for next spring are just a touch weaker. On the feeder cattle side, here we go with a look at the August contract. We're down 2 pennies now at 149.60. We've been fluctuating around on both sides of one change here today. We have September down 12 now at 150.98, about a $0.50 under our earlier high this morning. And let's take a look at the lean hog trade while we're here. On the lean hog market, we have the October 17 higher at 56.65, and we have December now up 6 cents at 54.28. However, February is 37 higher at 61.22 per hundredweight, so a little bit of a firmer tone here in the lean hogs. I want to go back to the cattle market here. On the cash cattle trade here, Brian, of course, I guess typically this early in the week, you don't really expect to hear much in the way of activity out there, and that's being confirmed again this week. But do you think the trade will hold off longer than usual on the cattle sales, the cash cattle sales, just because we have a couple of USDA reports coming out this week? Cold storage tomorrow and cattle on feed on Friday.
Yeah, they've been holding out here recently till late Friday, Saturday morning type trade anyway. I think that's going to be the case again this week. Cold storage report comes out on Wednesday afternoon, Friday afternoon, cattle on feed. It looks to be another late week standoff. The estimates for that on-feed report look to be a little negative, but the cutout values are higher, show list numbers are tighter, and that suggests that the cash market should be a little firmer this week. So packers no doubt going to try and use any weakness associated with either one of those reports as a way to try and buy cattle at cheaper money and preserve the margins that they have to work with.
We talked earlier this morning about the big spike in the beef cutout values yesterday. Is that unusual for this time of year or not?
Well, coming up here, it's hard to believe already we're getting into the last half of August, and Labor Day is coming up in early September, and that's really the last grilling season of the year. It's kind of the official one, and so we see a spike in demand. We're seeing cash hogs move a little bit better, and also our cutout values moving higher. It's usually a sign that the packers are trying to accumulate some inventory because of those holidays and the grilling season there, and I think that's what we are seeing right now is a little strength in those markets as a result.
I see. Okay, well, thank you, Brian, for spelling that out. Brian Hoops is with Midwest Market Solutions, and he's based in Springfield, Missouri.